In a world of palaces and unimaginable wealth, where time seems to follow the rhythm of tradition and honor, there once lived a young prince whose story transcended royalty and touched hearts across the globe. This is the story of Al-Waleed bin Khaled Al-Saud. Born in April 1990 into the powerful Saudi royal family, he was the son of Prince Khaled bin Al-Saud, nephew of billionaire Al-Waleed bin Talal, and great-grandson of the founder of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Everything pointed to a life marked by influence, leadership, and prestige. But fate had other plans. At 15, Al-Waleed lived in London, studying at a prestigious military school. He was young, determined, full of dreams. But in 2005, everything changed forever. A brutal car accident involving internal bleeding and traumatic brain injury threw him into a deep coma. In one moment, a life that was just beginning was suddenly suspended. He was immediately transferred to Saudi Arabia, where he remained at King Abdulaziz Medical City in Riyadh. From that day on, he never spoke another word, never smiled, never opened his eyes, never walked. He didn't live, but he didn't die either. For the next 20 years, Al-Waleed remained motionless, breathing through machines, fed through tubes, surrounded by equipment, doctors, specialists, and most importantly, by his father's unwavering love. Prince Khaled, his father, refused to accept the withdrawal of life support. Against all medical odds, political pressure, and time itself, he stood firm in his faith. According to him, only God could decide the moment of his son's return or departure. And so, day after day, month after month, year after year, he remained by the young prince's bedside. The media, moved by this real and almost mythical story, began calling him the Sleeping Prince, a direct reference to fairy tales where a long sleep is broken by an act of love or destiny. But in the real world, there was no magic wand, no saving kiss, only science, faith, and waiting. Over the years, subtle videos emerged. In 2019, a viral video showed Al-Waleed slightly moving his hand when called by a relative. On another occasion, he turned his head slightly. To many, these were just neurological reflexes, but to his father, they were signs, small miracles, proof that there was still a conscious soul there, asleep, yes, but present. Throughout these 2 decades, Al-Waleed's story traveled the world. It especially touched those facing similar situations, families living on the edge of the impossible between the pain of loss and a hope that never dies. The hospital room where he lay became sacred to his parents and a public symbol of perseverance, faith, and emotional resistance. But the human body, no matter how well cared for, cannot escape time. On July 19, 2025, after 20 years in a vegetative state, the Sleeping Prince passed away. He was 36. His death was mourned throughout the country and echoed internationally as the end of a unique and moving journey. His funeral was held the next day, July 20, at the Imam Turki bin Abdullah Mosque in Riyadh. The ceremony gathered royals, religious leaders, and thousands touched by his story. A cycle had finally come to a close. But what remains? The legacy of a young man who never woke but inspired millions with his silent existence. The example of a father who never left his son and who transformed pain into devotion, tragedy into unshakable faith. It raises human and ethical questions about the limits between life and death, about the power of science and of spirituality, about time and hope. A symbol remains, a symbol of all those who live trapped between 2 worlds, of all those who, even while asleep, still live within us. But the story of the Sleeping Prince is not made only of silence, machines, and longing. It also speaks of the power of choices, of the conflict between science and faith, and what it means to be a father. While medicine claimed that the chances of recovery were nearly zero, Prince Khaled bin Talal, his father, defied all the odds. He refused to sign any document authorizing life support withdrawal. He believed with all his soul that as long as his son's heart beat, there was life, there was hope. For 2 decades, he stayed by his son's bedside, praying, talking, holding his hand, as if at any moment he might wake up. The decision to keep Al-Waleed alive was seen with admiration by some and skepticism by others. Western media often questioned the logic of sustaining a body in a vegetative state for so long. But to many in the Arab world, the father's stance was not just understandable, it was noble, an act of absolute love, of faith that defies time, of hope that defies reason. In a world where everything is disposable, including feelings, there was something revolutionary in simply remaining. Yes, remaining by his side, remaining in belief, remaining in love, even without a response. Meanwhile, life went on. Kings died, new rulers rose, wars and treaties came and went. Technology advanced, the world changed. But in that hospital room, time stood still. The Al-Waleed family always maintained strict privacy. Rarely did they allow images, and when they did, it was to keep the flame of empathy alive. Occasional photos and videos showed the young prince lying still, connected to monitors, but with his appearance preserved. No wrinkles, no gray hair, frozen at 15 forever, like a portrait trapped in time. Over the years, his room became almost an altar, a place where pain and hope coexisted, where past and present merged, and where, despite everything, love remained the primary language. But this story isn't only about longing. It invites us to reflect on the value of life in its most subtle form, on what defines us as human beings. Are we only consciousness, only utility? Or does simple presence, even in silence, still have the power to move the world? The sleeping prince didn't write books, didn't give speeches, didn't govern, wasn't a war hero. And yet, he became a symbol of faith for believers, a symbol of unconditional love for parents, a symbol of perseverance for caregivers, a symbol of mystery for those who question the limits of existence. His name crossed continents, and his absence became a presence. Death, when it finally came, was not a tragedy. It was a release. It was a goodbye, and also a rest. On July 19, 2025, exactly 20 years in a coma, Al-Waleed bin Khaled bin Talal took his final breath. Calm, silent, just as he had lived for 2 decades. At his side, as always, was his father. The funeral in Riyadh the following day was discreet, yet deeply meaningful. There were princes, ministers, soldiers, and religious leaders. But above all, there was emotion. Grief swept across Arab social media. Messages of support, tributes, prayers, and reflections appeared in every language. Even people who had never heard of him before were moved by his story. And perhaps that is the greatest miracle of all, that someone who didn't speak for 20 years said so much. And you? What would you do if you were that father? Would you give up, accept medicine's verdict, or hold on to hope until the end? This story isn't just about a prince. It's about all of us. It's about what makes us human, about what moves us, even in the face of the impossible. It's about the power of love that asks for nothing in return, about faith that defies logic, about pain transformed into devotion. And it's also about time. The time that passes, the time that doesn't heal, the time that freezes, the time that sets us free. The sleeping prince is gone, but the lesson remains forever.